My manipulative mother used me for years to fund her gambling habit, then blamed me for abandoning her. I finally cut ties and exposed the truth. I'm 29, and my mom has been a master manipulator for as long as I can remember. It took me years to figure it out because when you grow up in it, you think it's normal. She raised my sister and me alone after Dad left when I was 7. Well, raised might be too generous. She was physically there, but most of her energy went into gambling. That was her thing: scratch-offs, casinos, online poker, you name it. Every time she lost, which was often, she'd tell us she was doing it for us. "I'm trying to win big so we can live better," she'd say, as if that justified empty cupboards and unpaid bills. By the time I was 14, I was working part-time just to keep food in the house. Mom didn't stop me. She'd even take some of the money, saying she'd pay me back. She never did. I thought this was just what you do for family. Looking back, I see how screwed up it all was, but at the time, I didn't know any better. Things didn't get better as I got older. In fact, her entitlement got worse. A few years ago, I started getting calls from debt collectors about a store credit card I never opened. Turns out, she'd used my social security number to apply for it. When I confronted her, she acted like it was no big deal. "I needed it to buy Christmas gifts," she said, like that made it okay. "It's not like you were using your credit." She actually tried to guilt-trip me by saying she only did it because she wanted my sister to have a good Christmas. I shut that down fast by freezing my credit and reporting the fraud. That didn't stop her from calling me selfish and accusing me of trying to ruin her life. Then there was the time I got my first big bonus at work. I was so proud. I'd worked my ass off for that job, and I wanted to save the money for something meaningful. But Mom had other plans. As soon as she heard about it, she demanded I use it to take her on a vacation. "You wouldn't even have that job if I hadn't raised you," she said, like I owed her everything just for existing. "This is our win as a family, not just yours." I told her no, and the tantrum she threw could have won an Oscar. She called me ungrateful, selfish, and every other name in the book. I didn't cave, though. I wasn't about to blow my hard-earned money on her gambling binge disguised as a vacation. Fast forward to a few months ago, and she called me in tears. She said her landlord was about to evict her if she didn't pay $1,800 in back rent. She begged me to help, saying she had no one else to turn to. I'd heard this song and dance before. Over the years, I'd given her thousands of dollars to bail her out, but nothing ever changed. Still, I agreed to meet her at her apartment to talk. Maybe a part of me hoped this time would be different. When I got there, the place was a mess. Scratch-off tickets were everywhere, and it reeked of booze. She started crying again, saying she'd made a mistake and just needed one more chance. But she slipped up and admitted there wasn't any eviction notice. She'd spent her rent money at the casino. I told her I couldn't help her anymore. That was it for me. I said, "Mom, I'm done. You need to figure this out." That's when she lost it. She started screaming, throwing things, and calling me every name you can imagine. "You're my son. You owe me. Do you want me living on the street?" I stood my ground, even though it was hard. I told her she had to take responsibility for her own choices. She screamed at me to get out, so I left. I thought that was the end of it, but of course, it wasn't. A few days later, I started getting calls from family members. My aunt was the first. "Your mom's been telling everyone you've abandoned her," she said. "She's saying you've turned into some big shot who doesn't care about his family anymore." Then my sister called, saying Mom had told her I'd stolen money from her. That one really pissed me off. The woman who had literally stolen my identity was now accusing me of theft? It was insane. Thankfully, my sister didn't buy it. "She's spiraling," she said. "But that doesn't mean you should give in." 2 weeks later, Mom invited me over for dinner, saying she wanted to make peace. I didn't trust her, but I went anyway. I thought maybe we could talk things out. As soon as I walked in, I knew I'd made a mistake. The living room was packed with family members, most of whom I hadn't seen in years. It was an ambush. The second I sat down, they started in on me. "How could you do this to your mother?" one cousin said. "She raised you. She gave up everything for you." An uncle chimed in, saying, "Family is supposed to stick together. You're turning your back on her." I tried to explain. "You don't know the whole story," I said. "I've been helping her for years, but she's..." Mom cut me off, fake tears running down her face. All I've ever done is love you, she said, her voice shaking. I sacrificed everything for you kids, and now you're treating me like garbage. I snapped. I stood up and let it all out. The gambling, the lies, the manipulation, the times I'd gone without so she could keep the lights on, the years I'd spent cleaning up her messes. I'm done enabling her, I said, looking around the room. If you want to help her, go ahead. But I'm out. The room went quiet. A few people mumbled excuses and left. Others avoided eye contact, clearly uncomfortable. Mom just sat there, stunned. I walked out without another word. But she wasn't done yet. A few days later, I found out she'd convinced my sister to let her into my old storage unit. She told my sister she was cleaning it out to help me, but instead, she sold a bunch of my stuff, including sentimental items from my childhood, and pocketed the money. When I confronted her, she didn't even try to deny it. You weren't using any of it anyway, she said. At least now it's gone to good use. I was furious. I filed a police report for theft and contacted the people she sold my stuff to. Most of them were sympathetic and returned the items when I explained what happened, but some were gone for good. I also made sure my storage unit account was password protected, so she couldn't pull that stunt again. She kept pushing. Somehow, she found out I'd moved into a new apartment and started telling people she was planning to move in with me. She didn't ask, she just decided it. He owes me a roof over my head after everything, she told one of our relatives, like my home was hers to take. I called my landlord immediately to make sure no one could move in without my permission. I also changed the locks and stopped sharing anything about my life with anyone who might pass the information along to her. It felt extreme, but with her, I couldn't take any chances. Things escalated even further at a family wedding a few months later. Mom wasn't even close to the couple getting married, but she showed up anyway, clearly looking for drama. The reception was nice, until she decided to make a scene. She cornered me by the buffet table, loud enough for half the room to hear, and started ranting. You're an ungrateful, selfish son, she said. Everyone here should know how you've turned your back on your own mother. People stopped what they were doing and stared. She was laying it on thick, pretending to be heartbroken, while calling me things I wouldn't even repeat in private. I took a deep breath and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, you don't get to play the victim here, Mom. I've bailed you out more times than I can count. I've given you money, time, support, everything. And you've done nothing but lie, manipulate, and take advantage of me. I'm done. There was this heavy silence. People were whispering, but no one came to her defense. I guess her act wasn't as convincing as she thought. She tried to cry harder, but the tears weren't landing. I walked away, apologizing quietly to the bride and groom for the drama. They were understanding, but it was still humiliating to have my dirty laundry aired like that. After that, I went completely no contact. I blocked her on everything, phone, email, social media. I even warned mutual family members not to share my number or address with her. Of course, that didn't stop her from trying. She started telling anyone who would listen that I was abandoning her, that I didn't care if she ended up homeless. At first, it got to me. I hated the thought of people believing her lies. But over time, I stopped caring. Anyone who knew me knew the truth. And anyone who didn't? Well, their opinions didn't matter. My sister and I grew closer during all this. For years, she'd been caught in the middle, trying to keep the peace while Mom played us against each other. But now she saw things clearly. She set boundaries of her own and stopped letting Mom manipulate her. It felt like a small victory for both of us. Mom's antics haven't stopped entirely. I hear through the grapevine that she's still spreading lies about me and trying to get sympathy from anyone who will listen. But I don't engage anymore. Let her talk. I've done enough explaining, enough defending myself. Looking back, I don't regret cutting her off. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was also necessary. For too long, I let her guilt trip me into thinking I owed her everything just because she's my mom. But being a parent doesn't give you the right to exploit your kids. Family isn't a free pass to treat people like garbage. It's not easy setting boundaries, especially with someone who's supposed to love you unconditionally. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that love without respect isn't love at all. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is walk away, no matter how much it hurts. That's where I'm at now, moving forward, focusing on my own life, and refusing to let her chaos drag me down anymore. It's not perfect, and it's not easy, but it's peaceful. And for the first time in a long time, I feel free.